But let me tell you something else, the most important thing that needs to happen, and this is the final thing I want to talk about on today's show, today's main show, and that is that I think this January 6th Select Committee, the Riot Committee, whatever you want to call it, they're now in over their heads. I do not think this committee, as it is right now, should be the lead investigatory body into the Capitol riot. I believe that it is time for Merrick Garland to finally step up and appoint a special prosecutor to officially start a criminal investigation into these events. Now, don't get me wrong. So far, for the most part, I have been very happy with what the Select Committee has done. And the reason I say they're in over their heads is because of the sheer scope of what it is they're trying to do. Which, to be honest, we don't even really know everything they're attempting to do yet. So, we have to contend with that. They've got Trump out there. They say, oh, we may be looking at criminal activity here. We may be looking at criminal activity with these individuals. We got Roger Stone. We got Steve Bannon. Now we got members of Congress. And they can't, even if they're from opposing parties, heck, almost especially if they're from opposing parties, they now really can't do this in a nonpartisan way. Because you do have lawmakers that do have to answer these questions. They absolutely have to. That's why a special prosecutor is now needed. Convene a grand jury and essentially take it over for the most part. Because the optics are always going to be bad if you have a Democrat-controlled committee subpoenaing Republican members of Congress. Republicans are going to weaponize that to show that, oh, the whole thing is a partisan sham. Look, they're going after our lawmakers because this is so ridiculous, even though there's legitimate reason to go after them. A special prosecutor could avoid that to a degree. They're still going to claim it's partisan witch hunt. But the bigger problem is the longevity of this committee. This committee is not going to be able to wrap up this investigation by the midterms. They're just not. And if they do wrap up before then they've cut corners in a lot of places, and it's not a complete investigation. Special prosecutor avoids that problem. Because what happens when Republicans win back the House, if they win back the House? They kill the committee. It's over. They disband it. And what happens if members of the committee don't win re-election? Well, then you're in for a real big problem too. A special prosecutor appointed by the Attorney General avoids all of those problems. The Republicans wouldn't be able to squash a special prosecutor. We've seen them try, trust me, we have, but they weren't successful with it. So that's what needs to happen now. But 100% of that rests upon the shoulders of Attorney General Merrick Garland, who has apparently just made it clear he's not going to do anything. And for the record, part of the reason why I say that there's no way this committee can even wrap things up by the midterms or even by next January when the new Congress will be sworn in, Steve Bannon doesn't even go on trial for contempt until July. Okay, you're not going to have resolution for that. Mark Meadows hasn't even been arrested yet. So he'll be arrested, arraigned, and then they'll set a trial, which will likely be even further out from July. So you're not going to get the cooperation you need from these people probably until after the election, because if they lose the cases, they're going to appeal. So this committee is doomed from the start because of the way Congress itself is set up. But you avoid those problems. A lot of them disappear completely if the thing is handed over to a special prosecutor or multiple special prosecutors. Appoint several. There's really no limit to how many you could appoint to handle each different aspect of that. The rally organizers could be one focus of one prosecutor. The Trump administration could be another. The members of Congress could be another. And then, of course, all the outside players who weren't with the rally, they weren't with the administration or Congress, your Bannons, your Fox News hosts who have been texting with Mark Meadows. All of those other individuals could fall into another one, so there you go. But anyway, listen, we're out of time for today's show. I'm Farron Cousins. Find me on social media at Farron Balanced. We've got a wonderful bonus show coming up for you today, including Roger Stone flip-flopping on what actually caused the Capitol riot. I'm Farron Cousins in for David Packman. Thanks for tuning in.